Hey, good morning, and good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. My name is Rick Janson, realtor in the Denver, Colorado area, and I have some bad camera and lighting today for day one. But hey, guess what? This is the worst it is ever going to be. Normally, I have very high production quality. So I'm excited that this is the worst it's ever going to be. And we're going to get rolling here with prospecting. Now, we're on a path to get you to sell over 23 million in 2023. And if you are here on day one or joining us in December 2022, you are part of a private invitation group of people selling between 10 million and 20 million a year. And our goal is to get you over 23 million in 2023. Now, am I going to do this by myself? No, I'm not. But what I am going to do is I'm going to share with you resources, share with you tips, tools, tricks. I'm going to invite in heavy hitters from other brokerages, from our brokerage, we're going to invite in top name coaches. We are going to get you the resources here for free that you need to sell what you need to do in 2023. Now, here's the deal. It's free. So when there's bad quality, don't complain. But when I have an audio glitch or when there's something going on that's out of my control or in my control, but I just screwed up, hey, guess what? It's free for you right now. So cut me a little bit of slack. But here's the fun thing, because we're going to do this together. This is going to be a collaboration, and we're going to help you increase your sales. Now, how are we going to do that? We're going to cover some fundamentals. We're going to cover today. We're going to cover the book Predictable Prospecting. Sometimes we're going to do books. Sometimes we're going to do scripts. Sometimes we're going to do role playing. Sometimes we're going to do systems. We're going to cover the gambit here. And when this goes live as a coaching program in January, it will be quite expensive. But you, because you're getting here early, are grandfathered in for free for life. So that's kind of cool, or for all of 2023 at least. So today, we're going to cover the book Predictable Prospecting. Now, my friend Steve Cunningham has come up with a 10-minute summary of this pivotal book. There are a few key books, and we're going to cover all three this week in prospecting, our prospecting series. There are a few key books that cover prospecting. Predictable Prospecting is one of the landmark books in this genre. And then we're going to cover the book in just 10 minutes because, hey, guess what? You're busy and you don't have time to read a whole book, do you? Now, one might argue you do have time. You don't have time issues. You actually have scheduling issues. And we'll cover that in another coaching session. But for today, let's dive into Steve Cunningham reading us a summary of Predictable Prospecting. Let me see if I can get to that here. In 5, 4, present, share screen, and away we will go in just a couple minutes.
There are a lot of challenges in business with the predictable revenue generation process. Almost always taking top spot. It's kind of like oxygen for your business. Without it, you die. To get predictability in revenue, you need to have a predictable lead generation program. And to do that, the authors of this book suggest we need to have dedicated prospectors who feed experienced closers. So while there are thousands of books written about the sales process as a whole, there are very few that have created a detailed process for keeping the top of your funnel full of prospects that have a high likelihood of buying from it. Until now. And here's the kicker. It's based almost entirely on phone and email-based outbound prospecting. No, the authors argue, social selling isn't the panacea that some people would like to make it out to be. If it's successful at all, it's certainly not predictable. So until a book comes out that suggests a predictable and dependable process to fill the top of your funnel, you should take what you're about to learn very seriously. Step number 1, internalizing your competitive position. The first thing you need to do before you reach out to your prospects is to determine how to position the value of buying from your company rather than the competition. The 6-factor SWOT analysis. The best place to start here is to run a SWOT, which stands for Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats, analysis on 6 different things. Number one, the 4Ps: product, price, promotion, and place. This is a marketing mix framework created by Michigan State University professor Edmund Jerome McCarthy back in the 1960s that has stood the test of time. So you would first take a look at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of your product, then move on to price, and so on. For the place analysis, keep in mind that your website is most likely going to be included, which obviously wasn't in the consideration set when the 4Ps was created. Number two, reputation factors. One of the best ways to assess your reputation in the marketplace is to use the Net Promoter Score, a tool developed by Fred Reichheld while he was a consultant at Bain & Company. It measures customer loyalty by asking, on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely is it that you would recommend your company to a friend or a colleague? You should be analyzing your reputation with both your customers and partners at this stage. Number three, internal resource factors. Each company has 4 pools of internal resources to pull from. Number one, financial resources. Number two, intellectual property. Number three, human capital. And number 4, physical assets. Number 4, external forces. There are 3 forces at play here. Number 1, customer. How much bargaining power do your customers have? Number 2, competitive forces. How much competition do you have today and in the future? And number 3, bargaining power of suppliers. Number 5 is trends, both social, demographic, and technology. And number 6 is VUCA factors. That's volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous occurrences, which include things like natural disasters and other important forces that are hard to predict. If all of this sounds daunting, keep in mind that all you're looking to do is to come out the other side with a very clear picture of what your company provides and how it fits into the marketplace both today and in the near future. Step number 2, developing an ideal account profile. So now you'll have the ability to clearly communicate the differentiated value proposition your company offers. Now you need to identify the ideal accounts to target. You're looking for the segments of the market that have both a high lifetime value and a high likelihood of purchasing. You should also keep in mind that whatever segmentation you land on should, number 1, give you a large enough market to target, number 2, give you targets that have a specific set of needs, and 3, allow you to communicate with that segment easily in a consistent way. Here are the different ways you can create target segments. Number 1 is firmographic fit. This is where you should start, and you'll get 80% of the way to the ideal account profile. This will usually include factors like the industry, company size, and geography. If you're focusing on company size, keep in mind that there's a trade-off to be made. Large companies generally control much larger budgets, but smaller companies are generally much easier to sell to. Number 2 is operational fit. Next, we're into looking at the prospect's medium to long-term business operations. For instance, one thing that might impact your ability to sell a prospect is what equipment they're currently using. Generally, you'll have a very hard time selling to somebody who just bought from your competition. You might look at their purchasing policy and how they make their buying decisions. If your sales process isn't a good fit for these things, cross those prospects off your list. And number 3, situational fit. Finally, we look at things that are more opportunistic in nature. For instance, finding out that a prospect just launched a strategic initiative that requires the use of your product or an alternative, that's a good fit. You might also look at things like executive transitions. Step number 3, crafting ideal prospect personas. Now that you know what companies to target, you need to hone in on the ideal prospect persona, understanding the specific people in the organization you need to sell to. This includes knowing who the buyers are, what they care about, and how they communicate. Here are some of the items you'll need to know. Number 1, job title, which includes both job level and job function information. For instance, VP of Marketing is probably the final decision maker when deciding on their marketing agency of record. Number 2, professional objectives. These are the goals, critical initiatives, and KPIs that those people have. A pro tip here is to look at any job descriptions your targets have posted for key hires. If done well, it will usually include all of this information. And number 3, an influence map. Obviously, many people in a company influence a buying decision. Understanding who the influencers and gatekeepers are in your sales process is key, as you'll want to include them in your outreach. The next thing you need to do is to find the pain that your prospects are facing, especially as it relates to their overarching objectives. There are a few ways you can do this, but 2 of them stand out. First, interview 10 people who you would consider good prospects for what you offer, and simply ask them to talk about their objectives, what they are doing today to achieve them, and what their biggest challenges standing in their way are. Second, and this is the only place in this book you'll see social media mentioned, spend some time in LinkedIn groups or other social networks where your prospects hang out and look at the questions they ask the community. Step number 4, crafting the right message. Now it's time to take all the work you've done up until this point and employ what the authors call the Compel with Content Story Framework. Basically, there are 5 distinct stages in the buying cycle we'll be focusing on, and you're going to craft messages to bring them through each stage. Before we start, it's important to keep the tone of the messaging in mind. Messages designed to move prospects from unaware to aware and from aware to interested are primarily, if not wholly, emotional. Messages designed to move prospects from interested to evaluating and from evaluating to purchase are predominantly rational. Number 1, from aware to unaware. Keep in mind that starting with the assumption that prospects are ready to buy from the first moment of contact is a relationship killer. So, the relationship should be initiated by the salesperson sharing resources that are brief, high value, and product agnostic, such as blog posts, infographics, and video clips. From aware to interested. At this point, the prospect is willing to invest more time digging into the problem and potential solutions. This is where more detailed content like reports, trends, best practices, diagnostic tools, and webinars come in handy. Number 3, from interested to evaluating. Assets at this stage include case studies, testimonials, product reviews, product-centric webinars, and discovery meetings. Number 4, from evaluating to purchase. At this stage, we're down to emails and voicemails that are completely personalized depending on the situation. You'll most likely find yourself offering trials, either free or paid, ROI calculators, references, or anything that will help your prospect come to a final decision. Finally, as you're crafting your emails, keep in mind that you should personalize your communication as much as possible while still being able to run your program at scale. Why? The higher the personalization, the higher the response rate. Here's an example to give you a sense of what a mass personalized email to an unaware prospect might look like. From rep email address, subject, mobile optimization renaissance. Hi, prospect first name. I thought you'd find this article on mobile optimization helpful. About 50% of consumers say they won't return to a website if it doesn't load properly on their mobile device, meaning nearly half the potential customers could be turned away if a website isn't optimized correctly. Insert the blog post URL, and then say, if you'd like to learn more about our approach to optimizing and creating breakthrough mobile experiences, I'd love to set up a short call. Are you available anytime in the upcoming weeks? Or if you don't oversee the digital agency selection process, would you please refer me to the best contact? Thank you, rep first name, rep last name, rep phone number, rep company URL, and then finally, below the signature, you put rep company name is a digital agency that lives at the intersection of marketing and technology. We design and develop award-winning mobile solutions for clients such as FreshDirect, IDT, and Hewlett-Packard. So here are some of the best practices here to keep in mind. First, it appears to have been sent by a real person because it has a real sending address. It is written in simple text without images and has a normal signature. Second, it's written in normal text the way normal people format their emails. Third, the subject line tells people exactly what they'll find inside. If you want samples of emails you can use in each of the stages, well, you're going to have to buy the book for that. Moving on to step number 5, getting meetings through prospecting campaigns. Now it's time to put all of this together into a campaign that can help you predictably fill the top end of your funnel with prospects. There are two sources of outbound leads which you can and should explore. The first and obvious place to start is with your organization's house list. Usually the most valuable prospects are former clients, followed by prospects that were formerly lost after qualification. However, even prospects who were disqualified or who didn't reply to previous outreach are good candidates for this process. The second place to look are places where you can rent a list. The best lists in the B2B space are supplied by trade publications, since the prospects are fresher and have opted in. No matter which source you get your data from, they must be cleaned and validated before sending. Now that you've got your data, it's time to start executing your campaigns. As covered in predictable revenue, it should contain 8 to 12 touches over 22 business days or over a calendar month. Here's what a 9-touch campaign, including 7 emails and 2 phone calls over 20 days, might look like. Day 1. Send an email asking for the right person to speak to about the pain points you've uncovered in your research. Day 2. Send an email referencing a survey you produced that's relevant to their needs, and again, asking for the right person to speak to. Day 3. Email an infographic to the prospect, asking them to click on a link to get it. If they click this link, it lets you know that they've moved from unaware to aware. Day number 8, email an attempt to secure a meeting, either through an online calendar you use or by asking them to reply to the email. Also on day 8, call, and if they don't pick up, leave a voicemail and let them know you sent them an email about securing a meeting. Day 11, send an email with a diagnostic tool to the prospect, asking them to click on a link to get it. If they click on this link, it lets you know that they've moved from aware to interested. Day number 13, send them an email with a product demo, asking them to click on the link to get it again. And if they click this link, it lets you know that they've moved from interested to evaluating. And on day 18, send a breakup email, asking them to respond to let you know if there's any interest in talking further. And finally, on day 20, call. And again, if they don't pick up, leave a voicemail, asking them to reply to the email you sent on day 18. Note that if there's any dialogue or replies during this process, you obviously handle it on a case-by-case basis, moving them from aware to evaluating as quickly as you can. So in conclusion, becoming a pro at filling the top end of the funnel with predictable leads that have a high likelihood of creating a great customer is an involved process. But if you follow the process and fine-tune it as you go, you will find success.
All righty. So we had a couple glitches on that. And now I have no idea where that music's coming from. But anyway, so I've moved to better lighting. And let's get down to brass tacks. Let's apply that. We have 9 minutes. Let's apply that to your real estate business. Now, so obviously that was addressed at more of a corporate presentation, right? If you're talking to HR, if you're talking to marketing and you're selling software. But the other points there, like going from unaware to aware, that's definitely applicable to real estate. There are a lot of people out there that are completely unaware that you exist as a realtor. Here in the Denver market, for example, there are over 28,000 real estate agents in RE Colorado or MLS. Making someone aware that I am a realtor, that is going from unaware to aware. Now, aware to interested, both of these categories are going to be more of an emotional pull. So when you're communicating, use more of an emotional. Now, when they're going from interested to evaluating and from evaluating to purchase, we're going to go rational. This is now where you start saying, hey, I typically sell in this many days. I have this kind of customer testimonial. This is where I, sell this much over market, etc. Actually, I'd put the testimonials in the emotional part. So this could be something like, wow, Rick really came through for us and helped us when we, nobody else would. And he really took care of us, made sure we weren't stressed, etc. You lay into the emotion at that point. Interested to evaluating and evaluating to purchase, we're going to go now into the rational framework. So now here's where we're going into the numbers. When you're going, one of the things though I thought about too in this is that even though this was a corporate pitch on how to sort of sell product or sell services B2B, you can also use this B2C or business to consumer. But in real estate, often we're chasing one deal. Right? Now let's slow down on this. If you're taking notes, this is going to be important. We focus on one deal. And when you sell that, you land a home, You sell the home and now you're unemployed, right? If you're doing it well, you're leveraging open houses, you're leveraging a homecoming, housewarming party, et cetera. If you're leveraging those things well, you might get 2 more deals out of it, but you're chasing 1 deal. Think for a second. If you were to scale up and try to get to that 23 million plus category, consider spending some of your prospecting time focused on businesses. If you're focused on a business that could send you 5 deals a year, and it took you just as much time to land that business as it does to land a homeowner that sells 1 home a year. Now, some of the people that I've known that have gone wildly successful in real estate, selling hundreds of deals a year, are going to come on the show. One of the keys to their success is they have corporate clients sending them multiple deals. So that's one tip you're going to get from day one, regardless of all our technical issues here on day one. Now, personalized communication, this is definitely key. There are a lot of, if you're doing postcards, if you're doing emails, if you're using MailChimp, if you're doing a lot of things, there are a lot of programs that will allow you to customize the first name, insert an address. When I'm communicating with you, you may at some point see me sharing like your volume for last year, the number of units you sold, the company where you work, to personalize that email and get more that stage 4 connection a little more solid. Now, step 5 in this book was getting meetings through prospecting campaigns. Now, for this, getting your names, they talked about renting a list. Well, for us, this is RedX, this is LandVoice, this is Vulcan 7. If you don't know how to get in touch with any of those, Cole for information. If you don't know how to get in touch with any of those, let me know. I can send you a link for sure. Now, 8 to 12 touches over 22 business days. That might be a little bit heavy, but guess what? As we are prospecting now, when you're talking to FSBOs, when you're talking to expireds, it used to be 12 touches was enough. And most realtors give up in 1 to 3. But it used to be in 2021 and most of 2022, hey, if you tried 12 times, you were going to be wildly more successful than the average realtor who called a FSBO once and said it didn't work, called an expired once, said it didn't work. But recent data that I've had access to suggests that it takes 25 touches to break through to a FSBO or an expired. 25. So what you want to do now is come up with that campaign, right? You want to automate that. You can't possibly call 25 times on everybody. So you're going to want to set that up on a drip campaign, whether you use Chime or KV Core, any one of the other, wonderful CRMs out there. Compass has them, KW, Remax, and whoever you're working with, right? You're going to want to set up a system where sometimes your email, sometimes it sends out some emails, sometimes it's going to text them, sometimes it's going to prompt you to make that call. Now, over here at our firm, we're using ISAs now, internal sales agent, inside sales agent. And we're training our ISAs to make the calls, to make the appointments for us, because our highest and best use of time as an experienced real estate agent with skill, and this is, make no mistake about it, a skill-based market. When you have skill, your highest and best use of time is going to be on an appointment. Now, to get to that point, you need to cut your teeth. And if you are within your first 5 years of getting a real estate license, definitely within your first 2, you better be making those calls yourself. Prospect from 9 to 12 every morning, 8 to 12 every morning. Your only goal of going to work today is not to make a pretty social media post, get on TikTok, or cut a funny video. Your sole goal today is to leave with a listing appointment and stay on task until you get a listing appointment every single day. Because if you get 5 listing appointments a week, that's 20 a month. You could totally screw it up and still close 10% and have 2 deals a month. If you do that, you're going to be on pace to sell 23 million in most markets. Now, the people I sent this list out to initially are in Denver and San Diego. Our average price points are much higher than the national average. Here in Denver, it's 650,000. In San Diego, it's over $1 million. So I ran a list, and some people are selling over 10 million, selling 4 homes in San Diego. Congratulations. But what would it take to get up to 23 million? So instead of living 10 miles off the beach, you're living 1 mile off the beach or 1 block off the beach, whatever it is that your goal is. So as we move forward with this program, 23 million plus in 2023, this is show number 1. Show number 1 is going to be the roughest show you ever experienced. And guess what? It's only going to get better. I hope it brought a lot of value to you. I want you to share this with friends. I want to share, go into the link below, subscribe, click on alert to get notified of new shows. Our goal is to do Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific for 30 minutes, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Everybody who gets in on this show in December of 2022 will stay free for the entire calendar year of 2023. It's a year worth of free coaching. And we are going to have big name coaches. We are going to have big name producers on this show. Today is experimenting with a 10-minute book summary. We're going to do prospecting all week. Fanatical Prospecting is one of the books we're going to cover. Again, one of those pivotal books in prospecting that everybody references that nobody has time to read. Not because you have a time management issue, because you have a choice management issue. So we're going to cover calendaring in future sessions. We're going to cover production, prospecting, scripts, how to hire an ISA, how to train an ISA, everything you need to do to get productive. And why am I doing this? Well, quite frankly, I've joined a culture where collaboration and sharing and giving is much more important to me now. And I've learned that you can't receive with clenched fists. And so when I open my hands and I give away all my knowledge and I give away all my resources, I actually am being flooded with more information than I can possibly digest. And it's improved my business dramatically. I think I boosted my sales 5 million this year, just with what I've learned from others. And I want to share that blessing to others. If I do that again, I'll definitely crush the 23 plus mark. I'll be well over 25 next year. So I want to just share freely with you and help you share freely with others. Please invite your friends, your colleagues. I'm not selling anything here. The whole month of December, I'm not selling a thing. We're going to keep this channel open in 2023. And everybody who joins now, you are not going to pay a thing. And I'm not going to sell you anything. So anyway, thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed today. Share it with friends. Have a great day. Crush it on Monday. God bless.